PWCC is a great way to sell your sports cards. If you're looking for a way to support the Cajun Cardboard YouTube channel, consider using the promo code Cajun, all caps, C-A-J-U-N, when you're selling your cards on the PWCC marketplace. Hey guys, Brian with Cajun Cardboard, coming at you from the great state of Louisiana. Today we're talking about player comparisons and some absurd assumptions and stereotypes that are often applied for some of the less sophisticated basketball fans that are out there. I have always been a proponent of the eye test. I do believe analytics matter, but the eye test is what I ultimately use to break ties and to decipher what the analytics do provide for. Some people work the other way around. They use analytics as the Bible, and that's the be-all, end-all. And the most simple analytics are what players look like, how tall a player is. Those are analytics. They're just in the caveman analytics, right? How much does a player weigh? What is his wingspan? I see a lot of people in the hobby and some of the talking heads on TV, a bunch of whom recently got fired because honestly, they don't really know very much about basketball, despite the fact that they might have played the game. There's a lot more to it. Sometimes the best players are not the best NBA analysts, as I'm sure you guys might agree. But today I want to talk about some of the absurd comps that people use. You know, everybody wants to say, oh, this player, and we see it all the time around the NBA draft, oh, this player is the next fill in the blank. I want to tell you a couple reasons to be real careful when people make these types of comparisons and sort of use your own eyeballs and go do your own research when making player comparisons like that. The first comparison I want to talk about, and what led me to make this video, is that I've repeatedly seen people in and out of the hobby compare Victor Wembanyama to Ralph Sampson. First and foremost, Ralph Sampson was a phenomenal college player, probably one of the 20 greatest college players that ever played the game. Preposterous numbers, far and away, clearly the best player in America at the University of Virginia. Had an okay pro career, a pretty decent pro career. He just happened to be 7'4", 225 pounds. Victor Wembanyama just happens to be 7'4", 215 pounds. They look alike. If you saw them 100 yards away, you would say, wow, those two guys look alike. That is not a good reason to compare two players. If you use your eyeballs, go watch Ralph Sampson video clips. Go watch Ralph Sampson play basketball. He played with his back to the basket and occasionally would shoot face-up jumpers. He would put the ball on the floor once, maybe twice, create a little space, shoot over people because he was tall as hell, especially back then. Victor Wembanyama, and I don't know where this kid's career is going to go. I did a video last week talking about the absurdity of his prices. Somebody commented in that I'm a hater on Victor Wembanyama. I've said all along, I think Victor Wembanyama is a can't-miss prospect. I think Victor Wembanyama is going to be so good and so versatile defensively that even if his offensive ceiling is limited, which I don't think it's going to be, but even if it is, and he doesn't end up being an elite offensive, top 10 offensive player in the league, it is possible that his defense is going to be so next level that he is going to be a franchise cornerstone type player. I truly do believe that. And while I do believe, and I did another video bitching about the Spurs getting him because I think the Spurs are boring, I think that that roster is devoid of talent, and it is. I think Pop's probably on his last leg. I do think it's a good place for him to go from a maturity standpoint, notwithstanding Josh Primo pulling his pecker out. But I think the culture there is probably pretty good. Victor Wembanyama is not Ralph Sampson in any way, shape, or form. You can go watch 4 minutes of Victor Wembanyama highlights and see him do 500 things that Ralph Sampson could never do on his best day in his prime, ever. And Victor Wembanyama's a 19-year-old kid who is just now beginning his NBA career and not even a remote shell of what he is going to become when he becomes a 235, 250-pound player, which he will, just like Kevin Durant did, right? So I think Ralph Sampson for Victor Wembanyama comparisons Anybody who makes that comparison is making it purely on the standpoint of height and weight, and they don't know a damn thing about basketball, because the way those two guys play basketball could not possibly be more different. And so that's kind of what led me to making this video. I just want to talk through a couple of other comparisons that I think are preposterous, and I think are stereotypical, and I think are shameful, and I don't think belong in any analysis of NBA basketball. The first and foremost is Larry Doncic and is Luka Doncic and Larry Bird. There is one thing that those two guys have in common. They are white. That's it. Chalky white. Nothing else in common. Larry Bird was a one or two dribble power forward who was one of the greatest passers of all time. Well, I shouldn't say. They do have one more thing in common. They are both elite, special, genius passers of the basketball. But the way that they played is absolutely drastically different. Obviously, they played in different eras. The game was very different. Luka Doncic takes 7 times as many threes as Bird did during his career. Bird was a significantly better shooter than Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is a significantly better open court and ball handler. Luka Doncic is a point guard savant. He is a genius, right? He sees the entire floor. Larry Bird spent a lot of time in the post. They are very similar in size, but Larry Bird spent most of his time in the post, in the mid-post, destroying smaller people, shooting over smaller people, bullying smaller people, and then, bringing bigs, other power forwards out. I mean, remember, Bird was a small forward for his team, but oftentimes played a little bit of four ball, right? Because depending on mismatches, whether him or McHale had the mismatch, Parrish was in the dunker spot, wasn't really the offensive focal point. Luka Doncic does all of his damage in isolation or in pick and roll situations with the ball in his hands, 24/7, touches. That is not how Larry Bird played basketball. He played a very efficient, ball-moving and or 1-2 dribble pull-up, 1-2 dribble finish type of basketball. He did not pound the ball on the ground ad nauseum over and over like Luka Doncic does. And again, not to disparage Doncic, but those players are absolutely nothing alike. The closest comparisons, if you want to talk about play style for Luka Doncic, is James Harden and LeBron James. And I don't think anybody can really disagree with that. Are they white? No. But if you're going to compare players, compare players. Don't just make a statement because two dudes are white and they just happen to be really damn good. That's dumb. You don't compare two black players just because they're black. You don't say, every light-skinned shooter is Steph Curry. Every tall, 7'1" black guy is Hakeem Olajuwon. That's stupid. You don't base it just on skin tone. Watch the dude play. Luka Doncic is much closer to a James Harden. And I'm not saying he may be better than James Harden. I'm not saying that. The way they play basketball, he's very similar to James Harden and LeBron James, and nothing like Larry Bird. And so that's the first comparison that drives me crazy. And I think people are making the same mistake with this Victor Wembanyama, Bol, Victor Wembanyama, Ralph Sampson. I mean, hell, if you're going to compare it, Victor Wembanyama is a lot closer to a Bol because I've seen that kid dribble. I've seen that guy block shots that are out of range that no one else in the league can block. And so I think Ralph Sampson is a atrocious comparison, and it just shows the ignorance of anybody who would even mention those two guys' names in the same sentence based strictly on what two people look like and are shaped like. That's not the way you compare players in the NBA. Another one is Zion and Barkley, two significantly, drastically different players. One of them actually played, and the other one never plays. I won't talk too much about that. Barkley was, in my opinion, a significantly better passer, a significantly better creator for others, a without question, not even on the same level, much better shooter than Zion Williamson. And while Barkley was very elite athletically for his size and very elite athletically, period, no one in the history of basketball, other than maybe a Vince Carter or a John Morant or maybe a Derrick Rose, jumps like Zion Williamson. And certainly I have not seen anybody jump like Zion Williamson at that weight in my entire life, and that includes the round mound of rebound. And by the way, here, I just want to take a slight detour here. I want to read off Charles Barkley nicknames because I was doing some research on basketballreference.com, and I think you guys are going to love this. Nobody has more great nicknames than Barkley, and nobody takes them more in stride because a lot of these are quite honestly very disparaging. Of course, Sir Charles was his go-to, the round mound of rebound. It's a mouthful, it's a long nickname, but Sir Charles and the round mound of rebound and the Chuckster, those are probably the three that we hear the most. But did you know, here's another list of nicknames for Charles Barkley, and the list is long, and this is a great feature of basketballreference.com. If you guys have not checked it out, it's a great website. The Chuck Wagon, fine. The Prince of Pizza, rude. The Incredible Bulk, Awesome. The Leaning Tower of Pizza bread truck. How about this one? For those of you who are old like me and remember the band Culture Club from the 80s, Boy Gorge, the Love Boat, Food World, the Crisco Kid, Wide Load from Leeds, because of course he was from Leeds, Alabama, Ton of Fun, and Good Time Blimp. Play on words for Goodyear Blimp. Just some great nicknames for Charles Barkley. Terrible comparison, Barkley and Zion. They're both heavy, they're both athletic, but still very different players. You can't just group all fat dudes together. It just doesn't work like that. It's just not a good comparison, right? You're basing it strictly on appearance, size, and shape, and that's just not how you should comp players. You should look at the way they play basketball. And then the one thing I want to end on is if you want to say this person is a good comparison for this person strictly based on skin tone, height, and weight, I've got news for you. The Victor Ralph Sampson thing, there was two guys, both dark-skinned black dudes. One was 6'9", the other was 6'9". One was 250, the other was 250. One was the first pick overall, the other was the first pick overall. And it's Anthony Bennett and LeBron James. You don't hear people comparing those two guys anymore. So they didn't play basketball the same way, I think, to say the least. And so I just want to caution people out there, when you hear these comparisons, if you're prospecting basketball cards and if you're looking to invest in a prospect, please be real careful when people compare every light-skinned guy that comes off screens and shoots the ball to Steph Curry. Steph Curry is one of the greatest ball handlers that ever lived on the face of the planet, and he is the greatest shooter that has ever put 2 feet on planet Earth, and it's not even close. And I'm including Larry Bird and Ray Allen and Nash and Mark Price and all of the greatest shooters of all time. He is on a completely different level than anybody else. So the next light-skinned shooter that comes from a mid-major that can kind of shoot the ball like Nimhard or some of these guys or whoever's out there, and just happened to be 6'4", 195. Guess who else is 6'4", 195 and light-skinned who can really shoot the basketball? Me. I played NAIA basketball. I'm not the next Steph Curry. I was never the next Steph Curry. He was never the next Cajun cardboard. So just be real careful when you hear these talking heads act like they know what they're talking about, but they're really basing their comparisons strictly based on height, weight, skin tone, and that's it. Or maybe this guy's from Europe, therefore this guy's the next guy from Europe, right? Jokic and Nowitzki. No, not the same. Luis Scola and Dirk Nowitzki. No, not the same. The next South American white dude that comes into the NBA and kills it is not the next Ginobili just because he's 6'5", 210 pounds and wiry. It doesn't work that way. You got to look at the actual player, look at their actual skill set, look at their pros, their cons, what they're good at, what they're deficient at, and how they play the game of basketball, and make comparisons based on that. That's it. Today's video was just a rant. I didn't screen share once, but hopefully you guys got something out of the video. I just wanted to get that off my chest because it pisses me off when the kid's 19 years old, Victor Wembanyama I'm referring to. He hasn't played a single basketball game, and people are saying he's the next Ralph Sampson. He's the next Sam Bowie. Why is he the next Sam Bowie? Oh, he's going to get injured. Why is he going to get injured? He just played an entire season in France. Why is he going to get injured? Because he's tall? I mean, how many tall people have played, 80% of the games in their career? It doesn't make any sense why people would project that onto a person. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So, Embiid is a great example. Embiid's never going to be good because he's always injured. Embiid's always going to be injured. Well, we had one injury, He worked through the injury, and it was a long one. He got right, and he's playing all the time. Michael Porter Jr. Had a really bad back injury. Had multiple surgeries. One of them went bad. They fixed it. Whatever. I don't know all the details. Michael Porter Jr. just was a heavy contributor on a world champion team. Michael Porter Jr. played a lot of games. And so I think people need to be careful with extrapolating and projecting too far down the road and making assumptions. And so that's what this video is about. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments if I'm crazy on this. If you think that Victor Wembanyama is the next Ralph Sampson, I probably offended you. I assure you he is not the next Ralph Sampson. The day he sets foot on that court, even as a 19-year-old kid that's probably 40 pounds underweight, I will admit it, he is better than Ralph Sampson on his best day, and there is no comparison between those two players, especially the way the game is played today. Victor Wembanyama is a tremendous fit for the way basketball is being played in the NBA today, and I think he showed that in the French League. And for all of you who are like, well, the fat guy Kenny Lofton Jr. dunked on him. Well, the fat guy Kenny Lofton Jr. weighs freaking 900 pounds, right? Is he the next Charles Barkley because he dunked on Victor Wembanyama? Is he the next Zion? No, that guy can't slide a credit card under the guy's feet. But look, man, Victor Wembanyama's gonna figure it out. He's gonna be an incredible defensive player. I've already gone on record, and it's July of 2023. The season starts in 3 months or whatever, I think the kid's going to lead the NBA in blocks if the Spurs actually play him. The Spurs have a history of sitting dudes and cheating and trying to get draft picks, and it worked out in this case. It worked out in the case of Tim Duncan when David Robinson sat out. So we'll see. If Victor Wembanyama plays 60 games, it's a lock. It's over. I even put some money on FanDuel. Victor Wembanyama is the Rookie of the Year. And so I want to be very clear on a couple things. I think Victor Wembanyama is the Rookie of the Year. I think Victor Wembanyama is a franchise player. I think Victor Wembanyama is going to lead the NBA in blocks as a rookie, and he will do it multiple times in his career. Obviously, the further you get into your career, the fewer blocks you're going to have because you're going to be asked to do so much offensively that you're not going to be able to exert yourself as much defensively. But right now, he should be able to make defense a focus of his game, especially at this weight, because he won't be able to abuse people the way he will when he gains 35 or 40 pounds and eats a bunch of sugary cereal and white bread and red meat. So he's going to get there. That being said, I wouldn't touch his cards. I would not buy one of his cards, and it sucks, and it's sad, and I blame Panini. And part of the reason is the cards are just too freaking overpriced, and I made a video on that. And so it can be both. I can think Victor Wembanyama is a super freak. I can think Victor Wembanyama is a generational, historic prospect. Will he be the greatest player ever? No. I'm telling you conclusively, he has no chance to be the greatest player ever. There are too many impediments, too many obstacles. The odds are drastically not in his favor that he will eclipse Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain. He will not. It is not really in his favor that those things will happen. But that being said, he can still be a great basketball player. And just like I didn't buy a Zion card, just like I don't really touch a lot of these ultra-modern prospects, Paolo Banchero, stuff like that, I can't buy their cards. The price point's just too high. And until those price points get back to where they should be, to a logical number, I just can't touch his cards. And so Victor, great. Victor cards, not so great. That's just my personal opinion. Let me know in the comments what you think about Victor. Let me know in the comments what you think about my assessment of some of these talking heads making horrific comparisons based strictly on skin tone, height, and weight. Thank you guys for watching. As always, click the subscribe button if you like the channel, and hit the bell icon for notifications of when new videos come out. Anyway, keep collecting, stay positive in the hobby, and peace.